Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming back and joining the Detroit Buy, Hold, Invest podcast. Glad to have you. Sometimes I just want to let this beat run out a little bit, but we're going to break right into it. Starting off the show, today is March 15th, 2025. The sun is not shining, but I'll tell you, today was a great day. It was 74 degrees. It's a little bit better than you would think for March, but you know what? I'll take it. The lake has been iced over since the beginning of January. The last couple of weeks, we've been getting like 60-degree temperatures, sun, very little rain the last week or so. It's been amazing. Thanks, everybody, for joining me on the Detroit Buy, Hold, Invest podcast. Do me a favor. Remember to subscribe, like, follow, whatever you want. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, whatever you want. I'm on everything. Find me on the social medias, Detroit Buy, Hold, Invest, Instagram. You can find me on my personal Facebook page, David Rabior. You know the name, you know the game, all that good stuff. This is becoming a very good year, and a lot of the reason is we've had a 0.5 point interest rate drop, so a little bit of market action going on. We've seen interest rates fall. Inventory is still very low in this market, especially in the retail sector. When you get into like Macomb County, Oakland County, Wayne County outside of Detroit, up into St. Clair, Sanilac, Huron County, it doesn't matter. There's very little inventory. There's not very many people selling. And all of these buyers that are out here that have been waiting patiently since like 2022, 2023, when the interest rate started creeping back up, I believe it was in the second half of 2023 where it started getting expensive and the inventory was not productive. So there were still these highest and best scenarios, but it's pricing certain buyers out. You have a lot of buyers that 0.5 point of interest rate is the difference between them living in one city versus the other. Right now, you have real estate agents that have been sitting around waiting, smoking ciggies, drinking old fashions, pounding beers, the cheap ones, Milwaukee Beast Ice, the Bushes, all the stuff. They can't afford the premium brand anymore. They're smoking roll-up cigarettes. They're smoking, $1 roll-ups from the dispensary, and they've just been waiting patiently for the day to come that they could finally call some of these buyers that said they wanted to wait and tell them, hey, Mr., Mrs. Buyer, the rates are dropping. Right now is the time. You need to get in. You need to get in right away because there's not a lot of inventory, but there's not a lot of people buying. This is your chance. All this buy the house date the rate bullshit is gone. Lenders don't have that stupid story to tell anymore. Agents can't force it down your throat. And the retail buyer is out, 60-degree temperatures, sun. They're out there pounding the street, trying to get in front of the spring and summer buying season where they're probably potentially going to get beat out on everything because most of these buyers that are out here, they're FHA, they're MSHDA, they're down payment assistance buyers, and the conventional buyers that will come out to play will eventually just beat them out on majority of the deals over and over again, regardless of what agents say about how great they are and how they know how to structure a deal to beat a conventional buyer. That's all just smoke and mirrors. Everybody, it happens. People talk that stuff. The truth is, most agents that represent buyers are getting buyers that are using low down payment type of mortgages because smart people bought houses when the market was lower, or they refinanced their home for less than 3% after COVID, and they're just sitting tight because why would they go out and buy a big expensive house, and pay premium 7.5% interest on that house when they could just stay where they're at, enjoy the equity, enjoy the low interest rate loan that they probably got, after COVID. It was a great time. People were able to shape the future of their life at that time, and investors were able to go out too and, build back Detroit. And this is a Detroit Buy, Hold, Invest podcast. So we talk about Detroit. You're seeing major transformations taking place in Detroit. You're seeing major transformations taking place in the downtown areas, in the neighborhoods, in the outskirts of Detroit, in the bordering communities along 8 Mile and Telegraph and West Warren, and all along Mack Avenue between Grosse Pointe and Morningside and East English Village and Cornerstone, and, you know, all of these type of places, even down in the 48217, you know, River Rouge area, the Southwest Detroit area that's under the plume of pollution fog from the Marathon gas refineries and all of the stuff like Zug Island and all that smelly, polluted air that you smell when you're going over the Rouge Bridge. Even those neighborhoods are popping off. Things are happening. Agents are out here. They got their tennis shoes on. They're not even wearing high heels. They're not wearing fancy dress shoes. They're off to the races and try to get it done. And the investor-based real estate agents like myself and others like me, we are just, the phones are humming. They're ringing. The emails are coming in. The leads are coming in full bore. We got clients coming back after last year where they're sitting it out when interest rates for DSCR hit like almost 9%. You can't make money like that in most cases. So a lot of those guys are peeking their head back out like a groundhog, you know, on Groundhog Day, but there's no shadow to be seen. So they're out here. It started. Everyone's excited. I'm excited. You can tell I am. And this is what I live for. And we've sold hundreds and hundreds of properties in the good times, in the bad times. And I'm telling you, it's shaping up this year in 2025 to be one very productive year. And Detroit is still offering much, much more inventory than other places, much more opportunity than other places. And you're still going to get that $1,200, $1,300 rent on a 3-bedroom house. You're going to get $1,100, $1,200 rent on 2-bedroom houses. Even duplexes are still renting per unit at $1,000, $1,100. And in some cases, you're seeing rents as high as $1,300. But I don't really trust, you know, that type of a tenant in a duplex, because that rent, you know, it looks good on paper, but how much does the tenant pay? What's their portion? That's always something that people don't really think about. Or they, you know, buy a duplex where people are just getting placed in there and they're like, oh, the rent's so good and the money's so good, but the tenant just moved in. You don't know what type of person that is. You don't know how soon it will be before they get reassessed. And Section 8 tells you that they now have to pay 50% of the rent or something, and it just blows up all of your future plans. I mean, you got to have someone that really knows what they're doing. And the title of this show is Don't Get Played Like a Sucker, or Don't Be a Sucker, or Don't Let People Fool You Around Like a Sucker, or Try You, or whatever. Whether you're local or you're not local, podcast number 24, Don't Get Played Like a Sucker. It all comes down to this, and I want to go over a few things that I've like witnessed over the last couple of years, but particularly recently. It's become very, very common to get calls from investors where they start telling me these stories about how, you know, they came to Detroit through these like social media, Instagram-y, Facebook, TikTok marketing guys who are telling them, you know, we're going to teach you how to flip, or we're going to teach you how to buy in Burr, or we're going to teach you how to buy Section 8 for only $2,500 down, and all this stuff. And these people, it's so funny to me, because these people that are smart investors will come to Detroit from a market like Los Angeles or Dallas or Miami or New York or whatever, and they'll come into the market and you will show them, like, here's a good deal. It's $85,000. The rent's $1,300, and it's Section 8, or maybe it's not Section 8, but with a really qualified tenant. And, you know, like, they deal with me after they've already been screwed, or they deal with me when I first meet them, and I educate them in the market, and I tell them, like, this is what's good. This is where you need to be at price-wise. These are the type of areas that you should look for and identify, because these are the places you're going to get the type of housing that's going to sustain long-term, because it's filling in with people who are buying in that neighborhood that want to buy their houses with mortgages. People who buy with mortgages, they take better care of their homes. They cut their lawn. They plant flowers. They landscape well. They set up their backyard with a patio set and an umbrella, and they put a little swimming pool back there or whatever. And they like have get-togethers, and it's very comfortable for them. And they enjoy sitting outside, or they enjoy like sitting out on the front porch and like enjoying the cars go by, or whatever the case may be. And they're friendly because they came to live in that neighborhood long term. So they want to be friends with people. They want to make, you know, amends with people who may not like know them or like them, or they want to go to them and introduce themselves to try to get up on the right foot. And these are the areas that we want to place tenants. And that's the idea. So when they come in, everybody who talks to me, if you've dealt with me, one-on-one, or you've heard of me or whatever, like the first thing that I like to do is tell you, these are the horror stories about what could happen to you. And this is the real story about Detroit and how to invest here and who will do these things to you that you'll never see it coming. Excuse me. You'll never see it coming. You meet these people, these silver-tongued devils, and they tell you they have all of these programs and systems, and they can do this and they can do that. And like, people will come to me and tell me I got duped by this guy, and he told me he could help me buy houses and fix them up and get them rented and, help me with property management. I'm like, what's the guy's name? And they tell me, and I Google it, and nothing comes up. Nothing comes up. Where did you find this guy? Oh, well, I saw him on Instagram. I saw him on Facebook. And you saw this person on Instagram and on Facebook, and they wanted you to pay him $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 up front to teach you something that a real person who does real estate would be glad to teach you and take you around and show you in person, or go out and do the legwork and video these properties and go over them with you and give you contractors and inspectors and real property managers and all that stuff. You passed over that opportunity to deal with some guy who puts videos up of himself driving a Rolls Royce or whatever onto Instagram, and that's who you chose, and you did no research. You didn't even type his name into Google and see who he was, or if he was a real person, or read any reviews. Because a lot of these people, when they tell me who they did this to, or like with or for or whatever, I go and type it in, and all I see is nothing, or a bunch of bad reviews, or a bunch of skeptical investors that feel like they got duped. And like, at what point were you going to look this up? Why are you being a sucker? Why are you letting somebody play you like a fool? Why would you do that? Why are you so trusting that you would take some guy who, or lady, or whoever it is, on Instagram, and because you saw their videos over and over and over in your timeline, you decided that you're going to take $5,000, $10,000 of your money to invest it with this person, and you barely learn anything. And they stick you on these bullshit mastermind groups on Facebook, or they put you into Discords or whatever, and let all these investors sit there and commingle with each other and call it a mastermind. Which, if you get into these groups, you see the investors in the group saying, I feel like I got ripped off. I feel like I didn't get my money's worth. I feel like what they told me is not going on, whatever. Like, you saw that early on going in, and you still gave that person money, and you still went and you bought properties and overspent on them. And this is where people get played like a sucker. There's a few instances that come to mind. I literally just talked to a guy yesterday who was a young guy who makes a lot of money, and he lives down in Southern America or whatever, in the Southern United States of America. And this guy makes like $700,000 a year. Seems like a pretty smart and reasonable guy. He calls me up off Bigger Pockets, and he's like, I want to talk to you about a portfolio of properties that I want to sell. And I'm like, yeah, sure, dude. And I get on the phone with the guy, and he gives me all 4 properties. And as he's giving them to me, I'm like, okay, cool. How much is this? How much is this one rented for? Okay, $1,200. All right, this one, $1,200. This one, $1,300. I'm like, all right, cool, man. So he got through on this, flipping type bullshit scenario that went on Instagram, and he came in and they told him they're going to show him how to get cheap houses, and they're going to teach him, how to rehab them and how to get tenants and how to burr them and how he's going to make money and this and that and the other thing. And he's in there in one of the particular houses he bought in a neighborhood that I personally put people into to buy, where we buy for like 50 to 60,000, maybe 65,000. We pop 20, 25,000 of these houses. We place a tenant in there at $1,200, and every single appraisal that we have done in the last year. Now, mind you, last year I did like 54 burrs, where I called my shot from the very beginning and said, if you buy this, you will get an ARV of X if you do what I tell you to. And every time we hit it, every single time, because I'm a professional. I know the market. There is very few people that are better than me at doing this. That is an absolute fact. Anyone who says differently either hates me or they don't know who the hell I am, because I am all over the city. I'm all over everything. People recommend me all the time because I actually provide results. But this guy came in and he buys a duplex and 3 single families or whatever. And one of those single families, he only paid like 30 or 35 grand for it. And by the time it was all said and done, this guy was into this house for like 110 grand with a tenant for $1,200, which basically puts him in a position where like he can't do anything now. He takes money from his 401k, so he can't burr out of the deal because now the money came from his 401k. Now he's into the property with a $1,200 tenant where nobody is going to pay this guy more than what a $1,200 tenant is worth. Houses that have $1,200 tenants sell from between like $75,000 to like $85,000. Houses with $1,300 tenants sell from like $80,000 to like $95,000. After you do the math on that, sit down with a pen and paper, look at the rent. Look at the property taxes when they uncap, not the property taxes when you bought it. That's another thing that these people love to not tell you is what's going to happen after the first year rolls over and your taxes go up based on the price that you paid for the house. They don't stay the same as what they were when you bought it, right? So you have to be able to anticipate and predict what that number is going to be. And if you don't know how, you need to have somebody like me or someone like me in general that gives two shits about you to go through these numbers and tell you this is what it's going to shake out at in month 18. This is what it's going to look like. This is going to look like it in month 24 or whatever. But this guy, he comes in, he meets the wrong people. He buys a house for 30 grand. He's going through the process. They're gouging the shit out of him on rehabs. They're charging him ungodly amounts of money for the work they're doing. The house gets broken into 4 times, which whoever was doing the rehabs for him was probably in on it because houses don't get broken into 4 times. And if they do, that's your fault because you had somebody over there to help you secure the property, put an alarm on it or whatever. So this guy, he's a victim. Obviously, he's not from here. He's trusting in these people to find a good deal, help him rehab it, help him get the tenant, help him, get to the point where he can get a good house that produces a good return for, what he probably thought was going to be around $80,000. It turns into like around 108,000 or 110 or something like that. So now he's stuck. He can't refi out of it because he used money from his 401k, which was probably by design. Whoever told him to do that, probably did mention that for whatever reason, because if people don't have money, people who scam you try to figure out other ways that you can get money when you have it, but you don't have accessibility to the money because you can't just go to your 401k and take your money without penalty. So you have to invest it into something. And that's like some ploy that they use to say, oh, don't you know you could use your self-directed or your 401k or your Roth or whatever, and you could use that to buy real estate and make all this money. Well, the guy was doing pretty good when he was investing his money the traditional way, and then he took it out, bought this house. Now he's overextended on the property. He can't sell it for what he's got into it because the tenant is now making the house worth less than what he's got. If he tries to refinance, he can't because he used the 401k, and now he's stuck on it, and he had this house that's been just pissing him off. And like most investors, if you have a house that does that to you, even if it is good, it starts performing, it's like, you have a hatred for it and you want to get rid of it. And this guy, he wants to get rid of it. He wants to be out of it. He's got 2 other houses. One of them's in like a hard, ugly, ghetto ass type of area where like, you can buy houses and you can be a successful landlord when you get into to that class of area. But most new investors are not prepared for what those type of areas will offer or what those type of areas will extend to them as a landlord. And if you don't have the proper property management that has, experience dealing with volatility in the market or, volatile tenants or, less than stellar areas or whatever, if you don't have that and you're not from here, you're dependent on someone else to tell you what market you should buy in and this, and that, and the other thing. And you're doing that with a guy who you didn't even verify whether or not he had credibility to even do that. And you spent $100,000+ with that guy. Don't get played like a sucker. Do not do this stuff. Do not give some guy on Instagram who shows himself in videos with like Rolls Royces and a jet and a yacht and all that stuff. That means jack shit to you. Why does that impress you? If you're going to be a Section 8 landlord, you really think the goal of being a Section 8 landlord and getting wealthy is to buy fucking Rolls Royces and yachts and all this other shit? No, rich people who build wealth don't do these things. They don't go around and wear, $150,000 necklaces and drive, Phantom Bentleys and have yachts and all that stuff. Most people who are wealthy that spent a long time busting their ass to grow a portfolio, drive freaking Toyota Corollas and look like a bum. That's the truth. Some of the richest guys I know, you would never ever know that they have money. I'm a perfect example of that. I'm a pretty wealthy guy. I do very successful business all the time. And when I go down to Detroit every day, do you think I'm down there with a, 200 gram 10 karat gold chain with diamonds and all this stuff? No, I'm down there with a pistol in a truck that's a 2014, ducking around, doing my thing and just blending in, because the more time that you spend trying to put yourself out there to be successful and all that stuff, the more time that people get to identify you as a target, and you can be targeted and you can be victimized by people who don't respect the fact that you're rich. They're looking at you as a target, like a sheep. These are wolves out here. There's no reason for you to flaunt your stuff. Rich people who are wealthy, they live a very private life for the most part. We're not talking about celebrities and stuff like that. Celebrities that, are on TV or professional athletes. We're talking about the regular guy on your street who's wealthy, who owns everything that he has. He doesn't have any debt at all. Everything he drives is paid for. The house he lives in, he has a 401k. He has a life insurance policy. He has an emergency fund for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And him and his wife and his family, or maybe he's a single guy or whatever, they could live and do the finer things in life. But you know what they don't do is go on to social media and start flaunting all that stuff. People who do that are people that, where they're like rappers, rappers that they got all these chains and all these nice cars and all this stuff, all that shit. Cars are a lease, chains are fake, or they rented them from a jewelry store, or a jeweler borrowed them. Excuse me. A jeweler borrowed them, the chain or whatever, for their video. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. A jeweler borrowed them the stuff for their music video shoot or whatever. And you got these like clown guys out here like Tekashi 6ix9ine, looks like a freaking parakeet with all this fake ass gold he's got on and stuff. This guy is a perfect example of what I mean. He's a clown show, but he's a celebrity. So his job is to go out onto TV and radio and social media and be a clown. That's how he gets paid. He gets paid by getting views and getting people to look at him. And then he gets paid from that. Just like when you have a YouTube channel and you get people to engage on your YouTube channel and subscribe and you get views, you get paid for that. All these people that do reels and stuff, but people who invest in business and into real estate and stuff like that, they are cool and calm and professional and very targeted in the decisions that they make, and very dedicated, and they get up early and they work real hard and they stay quiet and they enjoy the finer things in life privately with their family without being a center of attention. And so all these people, they keep coming to me and they keep on getting stuck with these like internet guru. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? When you see somebody and they claim to be something, why would you not just go on Google at least and type them in? Figure out, is there any format where this person has reviews, right? And look at those reviews, because these people who I keep seeing people get entrapped by, as soon as I type them in, it does not take me not even a quarter of a page of scrolling for me to find certain resources that you would go to that I won't mention because I'm not getting paid for it, to like see that they're 1-star type people. There's all kinds of sketchy stuff going on. Yeah, there's always going to be good reviews for people that are, there's bots, there's people that pay for Google reviews. They use IP addresses and they do that whole scammy shit. People do that. People do that to get reviews on, sites like Zillow and, their social media content and all that stuff. They pay money to run the score up. They pay money to run up their views. They pay money to run up their subscribers or whatever. You can literally manipulate very heavily. You could manipulate your social media, your YouTube, whatever. You can make it look like you got 1 million followers. You could make it look like you get 1 million views a day or whatever. That could all be completely fucking fake, the whole thing. So what do you need to look for? You need to look for the truth. You need to take more than 1, more than 3, more than 5 different avenues to go and research. And also say things like, do you have anyone that you work with currently that's being successful that I could sit down and talk to? Like all these people that I see that keep getting scammed, they didn't do anything like that at all. They just bid in on the social media bullshit ad. They came in on a squeeze page. Someone contacted them, fed them a line of bullshit. They got their credit card out and they started spending money with someone who they didn't know. In the meantime, you can come into markets, not just Detroit with a guy like me, but any market you want to go to. You could go and look up real estate people agents that have real actual reviews that you can go on the internet and scroll 2-3 pages full of stuff that validate that this person is a real estate person. They are a real estate investor. They do have plenty of satisfied people, and like they're easy to find. You can call them on the phone, and those people won't charge you money up front to tell you. If you have money and you want to invest it, and you go to an investment-minded real estate person like myself and you say, hey, I want to learn how to invest. Will you teach me? I have the money, I have the time, and I have the willingness to succeed in doing that. Would you be willing to do that if I'm serious about buying houses? Sign you up any day. I will sign you up. And I will teach you, and I will go out and prove to you whether houses are good or bad. I will go out and do the legwork, whether it's myself or my team. We're going to go out there, walk through these properties, take videos, have conversations, give you inspectors, give you contractors, give you legitimate title companies, make sure that you get warranty deeds, make sure that, everything is satisfied, that you don't have to worry. Get your keys so that when you buy these houses, you know exactly who you're going to call, who is exactly is going to do the work, how long it's going to take, how much money it's going to cost, how you're going to get a tenant. We can place the tenants for you, or you can choose to have a property management company do it for you. Whatever the case may be, the people like me offer services for investors so that investors don't fail. Because our goal, when you're successful, is to sell you every single house that you buy. We want you to become very close to us and become our friends, or become a very loyal and dedicated client, so we can be a very loyal and dedicated real estate professional for you. That's what we do. And that's what people like me do all across the country. It's not just me. I'm not the best person that does real estate. I'm just one of the best people that does real estate in Detroit. And that is an absolute fact. And someone like me pisses off people like these Instagram guru people, because they don't want people like me telling that to you, because then you'll have no reason to give them $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, and you'll go into a market and actually put all of your money to work and learn as you go with someone who actually has a genuine and sincere intent to teach you these things. That is the problem. And there's so many other stories I can tell you with guys. They come in from other countries, and they come in through these like middlemen that, do the same thing. They market, whether it be through social media or be through some, Facebook group that involves like, let's say Argentinian investors or, Brazilians or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we'll teach you how to set up your bank account. We'll teach you how to set up an American-based LLC. We'll teach you how to put all your money here, and we're going to help you this, help you that, help you this. This is the thing. That person who does that contacts an agent, and the agent is the one who is going to go out and source all of those deals for them. And if they source those deals for them, they're going to give them to the middleman. The middleman is going to mark them up exponentially and then sell them to you. And I've seen that happen time and time again, where I can't sell a certain house for $80,000 or $90,000. And then I meet someone who bought a house on the same street and they paid like 30 or 40 grand more. And I'm like, why did you do that? Well, they presented it to me in a way where it was a deal. I'm like, and you never went on to like Zillow or Realtor.com or anything to validate that these comps were legitimate? Never? No, I didn't. They gave me the comps at the time. They gave you everything, and you never thought at all to go outside of that and just do your due diligence. Because I live by the code of trust but verify. I want to trust people. I really do. I want to believe that people are genuine. And I always say people are really good until they're not, or they're never good, and people who are really good till they're not usually become not good because you leave them unsupervised and you don't ask any questions and you depend on them to do everything for you. And eventually, if they're a bad person, not all people are, right? Some people will just continue to beat the drum for you forever. I'm one of them. Like, if you're down with me, I'm down with you, and I'm in business to make, money long-term, and I'm in business to keep you as a client and a friend. And, I want to see you be successful. But other people, it's a long con. They'll give you a couple of little scenarios where you make a little bit of money, and then they're lining you up for the one where you give them you've made a little bit of money, and now they want to get you for that big nut, that big amount, of money, where they give it and then they run right there, and generally those are people who you look them up and you can't find them anywhere. They seem so nice and they seem to care so much, but no one else can really validate whether or not that person is who they say they are, and neither can you, but you still choose to give these type of people your money. And then when they run off, you're a victim. And then what do you have to do? You have to scramble and figure out from another country or another state or whatever, what you're going to do. And you know what ends up happening? That's when you go online, or you go on, a Facebook group or whatever you do, and you start asking people, or you start going places like Bigger Pockets, or, big, investor Facebook groups or Instagrams or TikToks or wherever the hell you go, right? The internet. And you start researching real estate professionals for once. The first time that you do is the time after you got screwed, when you should have did it from the beginning. So stop getting played like a sucker. Stop being naive. Stop believing that people that don't know you at all, who have no credibility at all, no reviews, no nothing, have your best interest in mind. They don't. If they were so good at what they were doing, why are they marketing onto social media to take money from you to teach you how to do something? They're making they're making you a competitor of them in that market. If you're really good and savvy and you come in there, because if, let's say you do that to a guy like me, somebody from a market who's dominating a market says, Dave, come on in. I'm going to teach you how to do everything that I do. I'm going to teach you how I market, how I mail, how I freak my social media. I'm going to teach you how I set up all my phone call trees. I'm going to teach you how I do all of the marketing. This is the pitch I give people. This is the TV commercials I run, all that stuff. If you give me a top producer in any market in this country and they show me all that stuff and I'm not familiar with the market, I guarantee you I will mimic what they do, go into that market and become a competitor of them if I wanted to. And I would be a real problem for them within 1 year of stepping foot in that market, because I'm a professional and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know how to execute, and I know how to talk the talk, and I know how to shake people's hand, look them in the eye, and make them trust me because I'm a trustworthy guy. Nobody who is at a level that they're so great is going to offer you to teach you everything that they know for an agreed price. All they're trying to do is make you feel like they want to be there for you so they can sell you some bullshit deal, so they can make an exponential amount of money off every single deal that they sell you, where you could go into those markets, meet a real estate professional who would gladly go out and do that work to sell you a house to make a commission like a regular real estate person does. A cooperative commission where they get offered 2.5% or 3% or whatever it is from a seller as a buyer's agent. There's plenty of buyer's agents that work investors on both the buy and the sell side. And those people who do volume, like myself, know all of the agents in the market. It's very easy for me to go out and execute that plan for you. If I'm out there shooting moves and you like deals, more than likely those deals are listed by agents that I know, and they know me, and they have to buy stuff from me, and I have to buy stuff from them, and we have a good relationship, and I can just pick up the phone and get all the information that I want, or ask them via email and get everything I want, and know that they're not going to lie to me, know that they're not trying to run some BS on me, because we do deals all the time. It's not in their best interest to screw me on a deal. If they screw me on one deal and our trust is gone, then that means when they want to offer on one of my deals or anyone in my company or my brokerage in general, like the word is out that we have to use extra care and caution for that particular person, which may lead to us not being able to do deals with them without securing giant EMDs, or really taking those contracts and leveraging the contracts to make them be our bitch essentially before we accept the deal. And there are certain agents out here that we have to do that. We just can't trust them. They don't if we give them an inch, we have to lock them in to a contract. We have to make sure that the EMD is deposited. We have to make sure that it's non-refundable. We have to make sure that we don't give them any little inch to wiggle away, because if we do, they will take the opportunity to do that. There are very untrustworthy people that are existing in the real estate business world inside of the sphere of real estate that is in the top, 10%. There's shady guys, there's shady ladies, there's shady companies. And on the other side of it, it's the whole property management. I could do a whole show on property management and the strategies that people use to screw you when you're utilizing shady property management companies. I literally deal with this all the time. I literally have seen and heard everything, but then I hear something new. It surprises me every time. I thought I heard every bullshit con scam, that property management companies will pull when they're shady. And then I hear something new, and it just blows my mind how creative that you have to be sometimes to be a piece of shit. It takes so much work to be a piece of shit like that. It's so much more little amount of work for you to be a good person. It really is just so much less work to be a good person and to have good intentions and to really want to be a professional. And there's tons of people like that. I don't want it to sound like, all people are a scammer, but there's always the black sheep. There's always that one lone coyote out there that's looking to come and snatch your livestock at night. And they exist. And they hide and they lurk in the shadows, and they're always looking for their reason to come in and eat that fluffy sheep. Don't be that fluffy sheep. Don't get played like a sucker. Use your brain. If you hear something about somebody or you hear, someone tell you a story, validate that stuff. Talk to them. Figure out, do they have references? Do they have resources? Do they have vendors? Can you talk to their vendors? Can you verify their vendors? Do their vendors have, reviews online? Can you find them? Are they willing to do like what I do, where I tell people, if you're using one of my contractors, they will not rip you off. They will not. Because if they do, they're off the roster and they build their business around my volume alone. If they rip you off, they're off the team. They're done. We don't play that stuff. And I will make it right. No contractor will run off from a client of mine with their money and without there being recourse. And also, if they did that, I would feel obligated to put you in a position where you got made whole. And if it came out of my own pocket, then so be it, because that's how passionate that I am about making sure that we do things the right way. But anyway, the next show I'm going to do is going to probably be with a guest host. Thinking about bringing in this guy as a guest host for more and more shows. His name's Anthony Smith. Some of you may know him, most of you may not, but Anthony Smith is one of those guys that has been a part of growing Detroit with me, alongside of me for years. We've done so many great things. He does project management, property management. He does construction on multifamilies. He does construction on single family homes. He does everything. He is a master of cold calling. He is one of the best telemarketing, cold calling, ISA people I've ever seen come into real estate in my entire career. And I've been working alongside of him for a long time in partnership. I'm thinking about bringing him in to do some episodes with us. I know that you'll really enjoy his personality. I hope that you guys will take an opportunity to listen to our show more and more in the future. And please do me a favor. Again, I appreciate all of you. I very sincerely appreciate you all listening to the show. I know a lot of you love the content. You guys message me and call me all the time. I'm getting over 1,500 downloads a month. But please do me a favor. Subscribe, follow me on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever. It's very much appreciated. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining in again. Detroit Buy, Hold, Invest Podcast, Clyde Realty. We out.